Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.
You're watching Conversations with Jennylyn, and today we are back in Antigua. And today my guest is Flommi Alie, and she is another school teacher in Antigua, but she teaches in a different school from the previous ladies that were on my show. And today she will share with us her school and what she's been doing during COVID-19 and in general. Welcome to my show, Flommi.
Thank you, Jennylyn. It's amazing to be on your show, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, it's Flommi Alie Grant.
Okay. Well, I am really happy that I have another teacher to talk to us about, the current situation in the world and how it's affecting you and the school where you work in Antigua. So what's the name of your school and where is it located?
Well, currently I am doing a postgraduate degree at the University of the West Indies, which was recently opened in Antigua. Very good stuff. And because the degree is based on secondary education, I had to switch to a secondary school because initially I did primary. I had to switch to a secondary school to do the teaching practice, which is currently a government secondary school.
Okay. And so I know that in the Caribbean, the school system is scheduled a little bit different than it is in the United States. Do you teach one subject or do you teach one class, all subjects?
Okay, the secondary setup currently is, my major is in English. So I'm teaching 3 levels, which is first, second, and third form English, and there's English A and English B. So English B is more like the literature aspect, and English A would be the grammar rules and so on.
Awesome. So how long have you been teaching in this school?
Basically, I started off this year. So it's a new change, new year, new change, I suppose.
Yeah, so you've just switched from the primary system into secondary school system.
Yes.
And you told me off camera that you're originally from Dominica, which is an island that I lived in for a while.
Yes, that's the land of my birth.
And that's where you were born. When did you move to Antigua?
Basically, I moved to Antigua about 13 to 14 years ago.
Okay.
So it's quite a while. I'm actually an Antiguan citizen now.
Well, you are. Did you move there to go to school?
The plan was to move, work for 2 years, and then head off, but it ended up being much longer.
Well, usually that's how it works out, right?
Yes.
We don't always stick to plans. I was telling someone the other day, if I look back on my plans that I had for me and what God had for me, they're very different.
That's true.
But it doesn't hurt to plan. So tell me how you make teaching English interesting.
Well, basically, English in itself is a very particular subject, and it can be a bit boring in some aspects of it. But I look at it from a communications point of view. I also look at it as more realistic. So I try to make my lessons in a manner where the students can connect it to real life. For example, if I'm going to teach persuasive writing, we'll do advertisements, and the students, I recently did a class where they had to create their own commercials, and those were really good. They create songs, and they did poetry as well in it. So it was really good how they were able to put that together. So I tried to make it extremely interactive for the students so that they could, one, remember it, and then they could see the meaning for why they're doing it.
That's really awesome because you're teaching them a language and you're also helping them to use their creative side.
Yes.
That's really great. Now, we are experiencing a pandemic and everyone in the world is subjected to this. It's the strangest. I think what is surreal about this virus is normally you see something happening in one part of the world, but it's not necessarily happening where you are in your world. But this is the one thing that somehow has united the world. Hopefully it has. How is it affecting you in Antigua?
Basically, it's affecting me in basically two ways. The first one, again, with my program, since I had to be in a secondary school doing practice, it's kind of on a halt because the lecturers need to see you in action in order for them to grade you. And we have closed all physical locations, so that's no longer possible. And it forced us to use online platforms to teach, which basically is nothing new to me because about 4 years ago, I had this desire in me that I wanted to start an online business.
Okay.
And it was basically online tutoring. So just as the two of us are speaking now, I used to tutor students one-on-one online. So it's basically something that I'm used to. Making the switch was very easy for me, working with the students and still being able to keep the creativity going. I got some comments today from one of them who said they loved the energy because I tried to do certain things and they were relating to it. And the second aspect in terms of church as well, the churches has also been shut down. And I love church very much. And it's affecting us in the sense that we are not able to communicate, assemble as we love to. And my church family is pretty small, but we're practicing a very tight, neat kind of church.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, we do miss each other a lot, you know? So it's affecting me in these two ways. But besides that, I'm more of an introvert, so I do enjoy being indoors.
Oh, that's wonderful. Do you have children?
Not yet, no.
Oh, okay. Now, where exactly is your school? I know I asked you this at the beginning of this interview, but I wasn't sure if I heard your answer.
Okay. My school, the one I am teaching at currently, is located in St. John's area, in the capital as well. Yeah.
Okay. And do you live there also?
No, I live towards the suburb area, if that's a thing for Antigua. Not too far into the country, but sort of midway out.
Yes.
Which is really good as well. I have lots of trees around me, and that makes it even more refreshing.
Yes, you're the second person this week I've interviewed who lives out sort of rural and have a lot of trees and vegetation and open space. And I'm assuming people in your situation are really, you might not have, as in you can walk outside and go walk around and enjoy fresh air. Whereas people in the inner cities, a lot of them hopefully have a balcony. But in some cases, people haven't even got windows, you know, many windows to look out of. So I would imagine it's less confining. And because I've done an interview in Antigua earlier, I know that your country is on lockdown.
Yes, it is.
You are on quarantine. Are you still on quarantine?
Yes, we are. And I think it's gonna last for a little while longer, you know, because from the time it started, the cases increased. So I'm guessing we're gonna be like that for a few. But it's not entirely bad because you still get, you know, a little bit of time to do some groceries, which is between 7 and 12. So that works well for us, you know. And persons are still allowed to do a little bit of jogging as well, given that they wear their masks. So there's still a little bit of, you know, relaxation to an extent, but persons are also asked to continue to practice the protocols that they have given and the instructions that they have given to make sure they stay safe.
That's wonderful. So from the time I spoke with the ladies that I interviewed in Antigua to today, have your numbers increased or decreased in terms of deaths and contaminated cases? Do you know?
I'm not sure exactly when was the last time, but there was an update from yesterday. The cases are still at 23. I have the information in front of me. The cases are still at 23 confirmed cases. Two of those were retested, so it's not really that bad. Out of that, we had a number of 95 persons who were tested overall. We still have a few persons in quarantine facilities, which is just 8 of them. The good news is a number of persons have recovered. So we had 3 before, now it's 7. So we have 4 new recovered cases. And there's 72 negative cases, which is also good. So persons are testing negative even in a time like this. So I think we do not have any new deaths either, so it's still at 3. And I think this is pretty good so far.
What is the population of Antigua? Do you know? You can give us
Probably be,
if
it'll
you don't know.
probably be somewhere around a little bit close to 100,000 people, maybe between 90 to 100,000 people. It's a small island, but quite a few people live here. So there's a good amount of people.
And what do you like about living in Antigua more than Dominica? Because I thought Dominica was, although it keeps on getting.
One thing, just one thing, the beach.
They have a better beach than a beach in Dominica?
Yes, I'm gonna give them just that. They really do. I mean, in Antigua, they have a lot more, white sand beaches, and they're a lot more shallow than Dominica. Dominica has more bays rather than beaches with a lot of pebbles and rocks and so on because it's volcanic. But that's basically what made me make a home per se in Antigua. It's the beach. But Dominica really has everything else.
Right, that's great. Now, how many secondary schools do you have on the island? Because it's quite small.
In Antigua, I'm not sure I could give you a figure for that, but it's quite a few, and it's a mixture of both government and private. We have had quite a few privates coming up, so it's quite a few. I know for the primary it's about 60 something, but I'm not sure for the secondary.
Yeah, I was very impressed when I heard, because I was going to raise this with you, how are you doing your distance learning? How are you providing for your students from a distance? Are you continuing to teach them?
Yes, we do continue to teach the students online. Like I said, currently I'm using Edmodo. That's the first thing we started off with. We also use WhatsApp groups because it's teenagers, so it's a little bit easier as opposed to the younger kids. So we got their numbers, their parents' numbers, and we communicate with them via WhatsApp. We have WhatsApp groups, then we do the Edmodo, we post assignments, and we post different things that they can interact with. It is not as easy because some students do have some challenges in terms of the internet. Not all of them have the full access to it. I believe that the telecommunication providers have been trying to fix that. But some of them come on, today, some might not come tomorrow. And we just try to be very patient with them to make sure that we're not putting too much pressure on them, because we're not even sure what their situation is at home, and what's going on with them. So one of the things I try to do before I start any session is to check up on them, ask them how they're doing, and, tease them, give them a little joke to make sure they're comfortable, in terms of their mind, so that they will be able to at least try to get some learning done.
How many students are in a classroom in your high school?
My third form class is about 27, and the first formers is about 24. So
they're reasonably sized. I mean, I thought they might be smaller.
Yes.
That's really great. Now, are you concerned about being able to follow the curriculum if the kids aren't always logging on? Is that a concern for you?
It is, because we were advised by our head of department to not really start new concepts that might be too difficult, especially because we're not reaching all the students at the same time. So basically we are doing reinforcement exercises as opposed to teaching something new. Also, the exams like the CXC and so on that will be affected because of that. But at the end of the day, I mean, we really have to consider, safety. These things can always be deferred. And we are humans, we know how to adjust and adapt to things. So I think that once we continue to just engage the students so they don't entirely forget everything that they've been doing, that as teachers will be able to help them to catch up once things go back to some form of normalcy.
Right. I know, it's just, it's so unprecedented, and I think most people were not prepared. Do you think you were prepared in Antigua for this? Because your numbers are low, and it sounds like you're maintaining those numbers, because those were the numbers I was given by the former teachers that were on my show last week. And your numbers have not increased. If anything, they've decreased. And I've been going around the world and speaking with people, and it's interesting how low the numbers are in that part of the world, which I think is wonderful. But I'm trying to think, apart from having a smaller population, how come the numbers are so low? Do you know, I asked this question of everyone, and people watching my show are probably wondering if I'm a lunatic for asking, but I will ask you because I believe somehow there's a connection. Do you know if the residents of your country were given the BCG shot? Do you know?
I think I heard you speak about that before, and that's the one, the vaccine that you get as a baby, and it leaves the scar on your shoulder.
Right.
In Antigua, I believe because Antigua does not have any rivers, they didn't get that shot because most Antigua, I've never seen an Antiguan with that particular scar.
Okay.
So I don't think that they got it, no.
Okay, because someone told me in China, because this is where this disease erupted, and they didn't seem, if what we're hearing is correct, that they only had 3,000 deaths. That just blows me away when you think of the number of deaths that we've had in the US, that they've had in Spain and Italy and some other countries. Then why was their number so low when the disease was really ravishing that country? And then I look at a lot of the Caribbean islands where I know people, and the numbers are pretty low. And I know the one thing, the one thread that they have in common, I was told, is in China they were given the BCG shot. And I was given it.
So you're trying to find a connection.
I'm just trying to
what I think though is we might have to look at the reasons why some persons died, because even with the deaths that we have had here, all of them, they had health issues. I think some of them were diabetic and some had already had some lung disease. So we have to look at it maybe from that point of view as well. The people in the Caribbean, they eat differently. I know I do. I mean, when I heard about the first curfew, the first thing I stocked up on was my vitamins. So I mean, we eat differently here. We try to eat a little more fresh foods. Maybe, less fast food. I'm not saying that Antiguans don't like their fast food, because they do. But I think our health has a thing to do with it in terms of how healthy we are as a people. And maybe, just maybe, the Americans are, I don't even know how to say it, but
I'm just checking. No, so what is considered fast food in Antigua? Just out of curiosity, I've never been there.
Well, Antigua has KFC, which they love. I mean, there was a lot of memes with people saying they're gonna die because KFC is closing. And some people do some underground railroad videos to show they're getting KFC. So the major fast food here is KFC, and they also have Burger King as well. And we have a Syrian population also that does a lot of, fries and chicken and burgers and so on. So typically that, but most of the time Antiguans, they love their rice and red beans and, some ground provision in that as well, and their saltfish and so on. So it's pretty much different.
KFC is the fast food there. Well, I have to say, based on what I know, in Guyana, KFC is also considered fast food. But KFC in Guyana and KFC in the US are very, very different. In fact, when I go to Guyana, I look forward to KFC because it has so much flavor, and the chicken is different. Chicken is, I don't think it's...
because they use Caribbean seasonings.
And not only that, I think the chickens are raised differently. I don't think they're fed with the hormone-induced foods, and so they have a different flavor. So anyway, do you feel that your hospitals are prepared now in case your numbers should spike?
I know that they are working. Well, the Minister of Health mentioned that they are working on facilities. They said that, from the beginning as well, that they were going to refurbish the older hospital that we had before.
Yeah.
I know that they're working on these things. They're also preparing another space in case there's an increase in cases and they have to put a lot more people away. But for the most part, I think that they're trying, given the, you know, the way it all just came in. But I still think that they could try to do a little more, maybe in terms of isolating those who are currently infected, because they're still in the same hospital. I know we have a small island, but that could also help as well. But I think that they're trying, and you know, with a little more pressure and they do what they should, we could keep this under control.
So from where you can see and what you know, how do you feel like the country has suffered the most from this virus?
I think it's mostly two things in terms of mentally. There are a lot of people here who are more sociable. They're not like me. I mean, they didn't seem to enjoy their homes as much as I do. But I think it's taking a toll on the people mentally, that they're not able to go outside. They're not able to go to their parties, their regular events. And I also think that it's affecting people in terms of job loss, financially as well. So those are the two areas I think that's affecting us even more than the virus itself. You
Yeah.
know, is people losing their jobs, not being able to know if, you know, they're going to be able to provide for their family, and mental health. These are the two areas.
Okay, and do you guys have a shortage of food supplies, or and do you have the famous toilet paper shortage?
I'm still trying to get the answer to the toilet paper question. I don't know.
You
But
and I both. If you get it, will you call me and tell me what it is? I'm perplexed.
someone said that they were using it to wipe after they used the Lysol. I really don't know. But no, we don't have a toilet paper shortage anymore. Initially they did though. Everybody
So
ran to the supermarket and grabbed toilet paper.
I know it was crazy to watch people go for it. So, but food shortages. Do you guys have any food shortages?
In terms of food, for myself personally, in my experience, we have not been able to go to the major supermarkets because there are lines that you have to, you know, follow. So we go to the smaller ones, and the smaller ones tend to not have everything that you really say want. But I think that for the most part, they have what we need. And I think that's what we should focus on, you know, make sure we have our basic needs and try to be content, you know, with what we have.
Yes, it's true. So many lessons to be learned from this experience. What's the one you've learned? What's
Sorry?
the I said there's so many lessons for
Yes.
us all to learn from this experience. What have you learned about yourself?
I've spent some time reflecting where I am now in life, where I would like to go. And I've begun doing some planning, you know, in that aspect. I've also learned a lot about other people and how they really respond to things. I mean, I think that this whole thing brought out different sides of us, and it has taught me how to be a little more, I know, compassionate, tolerable with people, because you really just don't know exactly what they're going through. So it has also been helping me to be a little patient with other people and to make some decisions of my own.
That's great. Have you noticed a lot of camaraderie amongst people? More than usual? Because,
Most
sorry.
people just use Facebook and they just vent. You know, they express themselves as they would see fit. Persons would probably try to maybe criticize different issues that they see or call out certain issues that they might see and so on. But like I said, I really think that persons are being affected mentally. So you, as someone who will probably be looking on the outside, instead of probably judging them, you probably want to wonder, okay, is everything okay with this person? You know, to try to just be a little more understanding instead.
Yes, because this is very scary for a lot of people. And if they're watching the news can make it worse because all you hear are the deaths and how people are handling them. And it can be very depressing. So hopefully, you know, this is all going to end soon for us. And it probably will be a long time before we can go back to what we consider normal. I think that's going to be true for us here in the US. You think that will be true there in your country as well?
I think so. It will be, because I don't think we are expected to go back to anything that we considered normal before. And I mean, like you said, it instills a lot of fear in people. And it has to do with your level of belief or your belief system. Because for some reason, I have been like calm throughout this entire thing. And I believe it's because I'm a person, a God-fearing person. I believe in God a lot. And he has just allowed me to feel that way. And I think that a lot of persons, maybe because, they just cut out from everything they knew, it just made them, lose their mind. They get scared. They don't know what to expect. The fear of the unknown. And looking forward, how are you going to change? How are you going to adjust to that? What is life going to be like, especially with all the speculations and the conspiracies? And what I've also done is I know my levels and I know my limits. So I will take this amount of news today, and you're not getting me to watch some more for the rest of that day. I decide how much of the news I want to take in. And I think if people try to do that, you should know how far you can take things before it starts to get to you. And then you shut it out. You take a break. Like you said, walk in your yard, sit on your porch, do something else.
Aren't you teaching some dance classes online?
No, actually, that won't be me.
Okay, I don't know why I thought that in preparation for this interview, so it's probably not you. So you're just sticking to your regular curriculum?
Yes.
With your kids?
Basically doing the English. I actually love English personally. So basically doing English, and as you said, it's a language, it's in itself. A lot of us think that we are speaking English, but if we really get to the root of it, we'll realize there's so many rules and things that we need to learn. So English is basically what I do right now. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of versions of English too. There's American English, there's British English. Which one are you teaching?
And then there's just arbitrary English.
So was Antigua owned by the British originally, like many of the Caribbean islands? Do you know?
Yeah, yes, it did.
So you're teaching British English there?
Yeah, yes. I think that's the best one.
I have to agree. That's the one I was into it too. So we're almost out of time. Before we wrap up, what do you want to leave with the viewers?
Could you repeat that, please?
I said we are about to wrap it up because believe it or not, 30 minutes is almost gone. What would you like to leave with my viewers?
Okay, I would just like to let persons know that, in everything there is a season. And one of the things about humans is that we were designed to adjust. We were designed to overcome things. And we might just need to take a little breather and pray for those who are in leadership, those who have to make the most difficult decisions so that they could do the best choices that will be for our safety. And to really just try to focus on personal development, try to make plans for how you will, take on life once this thing is over, because it will be over. And most of us will make it through whatever this storm is. So just look forward with a positive attitude, with a positive mindset. Maybe it's a good opportunity to start your own business or to do something, different with your life. So just spend some time to reflect, put things into perspective, spend some time reading, developing yourself in different ways, and try not to focus too much on the negative news. And if you do see something that you are concerned about, just research, do some basic research, read up about it, and make sure you're clear before you actually choose to believe it or not. And lastly, I just want to say that in all of this, we do have a God above, and he's always great. So we're going to make it through this.
Great, I love it. Before we go though, I must ask you, what made you decide to become a school teacher?
Initially, I did not want to be a teacher, but eventually I did. And then I started liking it. I think the uncertainty of going into a classroom, even though you have your lessons planned out, but the uncertainty of not knowing how the students are going to respond is an exciting thing. And also just being able to impact the lives of younger people, hoping that by doing that, you can do a change in society later, it's something that can be also very rewarding as well.
And you said you've been teaching for 15 years. Did you tell me that?
I have been teaching for 13 years, yes.
13 years. What's the one thing that you've learned so far from your 13 years of teaching children?
The major lesson I've learned from 13 years of teaching is you might have something or understood something in one particular way, but you never know how your students are going to understand it until you get into the classroom and you provide them with that information. Because they might learn it completely different from you because they have previous knowledge, they have personalities clashing, they come from different walks of life. So unless you are sure, you test them to know how they would have grasped that concept, you're just never going to know.
Well, this was a very inspiring interview. I am so grateful that you took the time out to spend with us. And I hope you stay safe. And I pray for the people in your country, like I've been praying for everyone around the world. And hopefully soon you will be back in the classroom with your kids. And the island will
thank you so much.
Of what used to be normal. And I will be in touch with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. Here's another inspiring interview that I just brought for you today. So please continue to watch Conversations with Jennylyn, when a conversation is all you need to be inspired. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much, Flommi. I will be in touch with you.